Lori Daybell was in court for some final motions ahead of her trial. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. The sofa's somewhere behind me, and I'm in front of it. My name's Paul if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, my name is still currently Paul. Today we're going to be doing like a recap, a talking of, a hollering at, if you will, about Lori Daybell's one of her final appearances in court before her trial is set to start here at the end of March, beginning of April 2025. So what we're going to do is just talk about some highlights. Well, we will be looking at a few clips from that. I watched this on East Idaho News. Be sure to follow them. Nate Eaton, all this. He's also involved in the case, might be a witness and interviewed and all this stuff. So be sure and give them a follow. That's where I got the clips from. And let's do a very quick 60-second overview for those of you who might not be familiar with the case. So Lori Daybell is in Arizona. She's facing two separate trials for two separate issues. One being the murder of her fourth husband, Charles Fallow. He was the one who was shot in Chandler. And she's also charged with conspiring to kill another family member, Brandon Boudreaux. This is the ex-husband of Lori's niece. Now remember, keep this in mind, the backdrop is that she's already been convicted of taking the life of her own two children, JJ and Tylee, as well as Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy Daybell. Now what's different in this case, in this trial, is that Lori will be representing herself in these matters, and she's definitely running into some issues, okay? Now this hearing was riddled with complaints about her being locked down in jail, her ability to act as her own lawyer, or even get a hold of her paralegal. Now, Lori might even be taking the stand herself, but luckily for the victims, as well as the general public, the judge is not going to allow her to do so in a narrative style, though we will talk about the guidelines of that here a little bit later. Now, what I want to do is take a look at some of the highlights of that hearing. So let's talk about a couple of things real quick and we'll look at those clips. So first of all, she wanted to know, can I have the investigator, Jeff White, at her table? Judge said yes, he moved up there. And then the judge was like, look, we're going to have a different courtroom. It's going to be a little bit better for the first trial at least. Then they get into the questionnaire that's getting ready to go out for potential jurors and whatnot. The state brings up a very good point of, and this is like pre-trial publicity, and essentially using the names JJ and Tylee, and the state's like, look, we're going to be questioning people and these names are going to come up, incredibly publicized. How is this going to affect things in that manner of picking out a jury? The judge says, yeah, you know what, I totally get that, but I would rather address that in like the single voir dire. I don't want to say it like in front of the whole group of people or whatever. Now they will come to essentially an agreement where they're going to have a third grouping of names that are going to be on the questionnaire and things of that nature. My interpretation of this is basically the state's like, look, the second you start bringing in the kids' names and this and the other and trying to avoid past convictions and this is going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that case, And so I understand where they're coming from, and I think it's nice of the state to bring this aspect up. And Lori didn't have a problem with the way things work either. Now, they will go back to this video that Lori talked about in her last hearing, and Lori will get ruffled over this video. She claims that she saw this, that it's from the Gilbert Police Department. Remember, there's several interviews that came out of there, and the state's basically like, look, we don't know about this, okay? We've given everything we had. You've got all these terabytes. It's over there if it's there, but we don't specifically know about this right here. And here is what Lori says. The judge is like, well, why isn't your team helping, or why can't we get to this information? If they can just send a link, why don't they do this if somebody has seen this? It's somebody on her past team that's seen it, and the judge is trying to put all this together. Well, here's what she has to say about that.
I will tell you why they won't, because that is my former team, and they will not do anything to help my investigator, my paralegal. They won't give us any information that they found. They won't talk to us at all because apparently there was a conflict. So they will not help us. They will not send us anything. They will not email us anything. They will not answer anything that we ask them to. So that has been the response from my former defense team.
Okay, everybody, that's where we're at. Anyone want to know? That's where we're at, okay? Now, then the state's going to chime in, and they're going to be like, well, look, 10:30 last night, Lori's investigator emailed us asking for these laptops and all this stuff so they can do their own extractions to get this information and review it. And the state's essentially like, this shows they haven't even started on that. And trial is like, 2 weeks away? There's no way they can get this stuff done before trial. Obviously, this would be a major worry. Now, Jeff White, that's the investigator sitting at Lori's table, he was over there like, well, hold on now. And the judge is like, look, are you going to be setting up interviews? Like, we'll get to the extraction stuff, but what's going on? They're trying to get like contact information, all this type stuff, and phone numbers, and I mean, there's so much work to be done, and trial is literally right around the corner. And then Lori had this to say.
That's where I got the people from the interviews that they had from the state previously. So I understand that they're allowed to do another interview of them, but they have interviews of every single person that is on my list, with the exception of one.
Which is who?
Which is Nate Eaton.
Really? Nate Eaton has found himself into the case. Now remember, Nate Eaton is responsible for chasing her down and sticking a microphone in her face and saying, "Where are the kids, Lori?" So I'm sure she's got a little bit of a bone to pick with him. Okay. Now after that, Lori will end up going off. Okay, let's hear what she had to say.
Where I am at the jail, the communication is very difficult for me to get a hold of my investigator, to get a hold of my paralegal. I'm 23 hours a day locked down. If I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have a phone. If I don't have battery, I don't have a phone. I don't have access to get to people. So I understand the time constraints, and we're doing the best that we can of getting things answered, getting things put together.
I mean, she understands, okay? I mean, Lord, I think we should put her in contact with the Sarah with the Boones. I mean, they had so many of the same complaints. Now, again, when the state sits here and talks and whatnot, they're like, hey, look, they go into the whole Nate Eaton thing and whatnot. Now, the state will also say some of these interviews, things of this nature that she's talking about, they're like 5 years old. And they're like, also like, look, it's not our job to do your job, okay, to get phone numbers and do this and do that. And on the spectrum, the realm of like, who has a right to do what, we totally have a right to do these interviews if we want to. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, the judge will tell Lori there's no way her investigator can do the extraction by trial to like get this stuff that he's talking about, extract and do his own cell right and whatnot. He's like, this will take weeks, if not months, to do. And then Lori will say this about that.
Well, I'm sure that my investigator would like to have all of those things done, and I realize that we're on a time constraint, and I would be only concerned with one item, which is at Chandler Police Department, which was Charles, my husband's phone. Charles Vallow's phone.
Very interesting indeed. Now, as you heard, Lori says she's mostly concerned with Charles Vallow's phone, and the state will be like, look, that's already been disclosed, and even like the transcript, stuff like that, we put this in this huge amount of terabytes that we gave to you, so, what's the deal? What do you want to do? Now, Lori will ultimately say, no matter what, that she is ready for trial at the end of the month. Let's go ahead and take a little gander at some more things she pops off on.
Do the work that you want done on your defense. But if you're telling me you don't want to do that.
I would like to do that, but my situation in my housing department precludes me from doing that.
From asking for a continuance?
No, from getting things done in an effective and quick manner.
Okay. All right. Well, so you're telling me you don't want a continuance because any information he has at this point could be precluded as being untimely.
I understand that is the rule, and I understand how unfair and prejudicial that would be to me.
I'm talking saucy, I'm talking spicy. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, like the nosy petty part of me, when he was like, do you want a continuance? I was like, don't put that word in her mind. Heavens to Betsy. Lord mercy, we want her to keep going. Right now, at the end of the day, my take on these things is, yes, there's obviously, you already know, right? It's how we're here. There's tons of questions that I have, but it's ultimately like, what would the victims like, right? If they were like, hey, we would prefer her to plea out so we don't have to be put through anything, well, then obviously that's the most important thing, right? But nonetheless, okay, she obviously is like, no, we're ready to go. We are ready to rumble. And then, okay, the big whammy here is the state will then drop this bombshell.
Addressed last week was the state's 609 motion. I presume the defendant will likely testify, so I didn't know if we wanted to address that now.
Oh, you heard that now. Go on and get your popcorn. All right, so allegedly, supposedly, Lori is going to be taking the stand. Now, on that, Lori will say she's not ready to talk about that. And the judge will warn her. He'll be like, look, if you take the stand and whatnot, just know the jury is going to hear about these past convictions. That's what's going to happen. Also, he's like, it'll be a question and answer style. It's not going to be a narrative style. Thank the Lord. And he's like, you're going to have to write out all the questions that you want your co-counselor, whoever's going to be doing the questioning, to ask her. And I cannot wait to see the questions. I'm not going to lie, y'all. What would y'all do if like some of them were like influencer kind of questions, where it'd be like this, where it'd be like, you know, what's your skincare routine? How do you get those curls? How do you do the Shih Tzu, you know, thing with your hair? Like, imagine if she throws some of those in there, but then they're trying to play it off like it wasn't her asking them to herself, right? Literally, there's so many directions we could go in with this. You know, what shade lipstick is that? I don't know if y'all call them shades or not. I don't know how lipstick works, but you know what I'm saying. You know, what color lipstick or whatever. I guess maybe blush comes in different shades. I don't know. Anyways, let's keep going. Now look, towards the end, Lori will file more motions and whatnot, and she will make note that her paralegal has been super busy. She don't have any copies. She wasn't able to really file this till now because, paralegal's been real busy. So, there is that. Again, she is at a disadvantage. Now, the judge is like, look, the first questionnaires are going out on the 20th, so they've already gone out, right? So there are people right now that are getting stuff in their mailbox and being like, honey, do you know who this Lori Daybell character is? And if the wife or what, it's usually the wives that are into true crime, right? Not to say it, not excluding the husband out there, right? But at least over here, that's how it goes. But she's in it. She's like, what? You got a Lori Daybell thing? Please. Give me that, we're going, right? Come on now. So here's the thing. Yes, we are going to stream the trial on the other channel, the podcast channel. I'll make updates on the main channel here as much as I can and get them out and whatnot. They might be a little bit more informal, if you will, just because of the quickness of it and whatnot. But we are going to be watching it if it goes to trial. I believe it on the first day. Now, leading up to that, we'll do live streams on the other channel, but revisiting the major interviews that took place in this and kind of get on the same page and whatnot. So there's that. Anyways, that is it. I do appreciate it if you're still watching. If you're not still watching, I appreciate it, but you wouldn't know that I said that because you're not watching unless you're like telepathically doing something, okay? And if you are, well, thank you very much. If you could, please drop off some little sofas in the comment section for myself, Rosco and Spirit, and Bo and Luke, and the rest of the Sofa Squad so we can hang out, talk about Lori, talk about Casey, talk about all these people and cases that we do here at the Sofa Squad. And until we all meander on down in the comment section to do all that, I'll see y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Rosco on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.